Sunday night, 9 o'clock. Welcome to All Lacrosse Live. For the moment, we have all three of us. How are you guys doing? I have Shawn Slaght and Moose Jaw. How are you, Shawn?
Doing good. Thanks, Gary.
And I have Muffler Mike over in Connecticut. Mike, how are you?
I'm doing good.
I am still doing, so that's a good thing. My internet's been playing tricks on me, so, it's raining out here, so, pretty soon we'll be at Fox viewing positions. I'll have a coat hanger or something. We got a great show for you tonight. And in a couple of minutes, I've got Johnny Mouradian on, and he's going to be discussing some stuff from the Toronto Rock, maybe a little bit of stuff from the Buffalo Bandits, a little bit of stuff from the Philadelphia Wings. Should be a lot of fun. But just before we get rolling, let's get the network stuff out of the way. And remember that episodes are streamed live across Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and also Twitch. And you can catch all the action on EOPsports.com. Remember to smash the subscribe, follow, and like buttons, and always share. As you can see, we have many shows for many people. Please enjoy our affiliates as well. The Broad Street Bully Podcast, Philly Press Box Radio, Edge of Philly Sports Live, Bird's Eye Q, Patterson Avenue Fanatics, Talking Philly Sports with Matty B, Devereaux Sports, The Painted Lines, Party on Prod, all kinds of Eagle stuff, and of course my favorite, Steel Steps on Friday night. If you missed a show, no worries. You can grab all the podcasts on all the major podcast companies, which include Amazon, iTunes, Google Play, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spotify, so much more. And you can also catch it on the EOP YouTube page. And if you're looking for our show in particular, at All Across All the Time on YouTube. Remember, you can stay up to date with all sports by visiting EOPsports.com with great articles from our huge staff of contributors. While you're there, please subscribe to our newsletter. And just a reminder before we get rolling that the first part of our program is brought to you by Dolan's.
All right, guys, when you're staying local and you want to watch a great game or just hang out with some great people, make sure to go to Dolan's Bar at 24 East Sellers Avenue at Ridley Park. Right off of I-95, south of Philadelphia Airport, Dolan's Bar is the place to be. Great music, great times, memorabilia giveaways, great drinks, and even better food. You never know when a former Philly sports icon walks through the door. You got to go to Dolan's, 24 East Sellers Ave at Ridley Park. Tell PJ that EOP sent you. Go to dolansbar.com or follow them on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or even TikTok. We'll see you there for the game.
Absolutely. Now, just before I bring Johnny in, let's just recognize a few of his achievements, because if I recognize all of them, we'd be coming back next week with them. But 1975, Murphy Award Most Valuable Player, Major Lacrosse League. 1998, Ontario Lacrosse Hall of Fame. 2000, Ithaca College Sports Hall of Fame. 2001, as a player in the 1978 Canadian national team that won the World Field Championships in England, inducted into the Canadian Lacrosse Hall of Fame in the team category. 2003, Lakeport High School Hall of Fame. 2003 or 4, the National Lacrosse League General Manager of the Year. 2008, the National Lacrosse League Hall of Fame. Also in 2008, the St. Catharines Ontario Sports Hall of Fame. 2009 was the Canadian Lacrosse Hall of Fame in the field player category. 2008 also, there was an award, the Johnny Mouradian Award for Offensive Player of the Year in Ontario Senior Men's Field Lacrosse. Also, 2012, Queen Elizabeth II Diamond Jubilee Medal. 2014, World Lacrosse Development Award, and the Spirit of Lacrosse Award. Without further ado, a good friend of mine, let's bring in Johnny Mouradian to the show.
Hi, Gary. How are you?
John, it's good to have you on the show. Great to see you again.
Yeah, thanks so much. Nice to see you, Shawn and Muffler Mike. How's everything?
We're doing good. Thank you, Johnny.
Good. Thanks for coming on. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you being a Canadian, like Shawn, we'll just say happy Thanksgiving to you as well as to all the Canadians out there. Canadian Thanksgiving today.
Yeah, I get to celebrate too.
Yes, you do. You get to
Canadian
Indian. That's awesome. But you've been busy, man. You've been traveling all over the place the last little while. You were up here for the Hall of Fame. Yeah. You were over in was it Utica for the Laxney tournament?
No, I didn't make it to that tournament, but I hear it was a real nice event.
It was a busy one, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And USA White, I believe, won it. They had a great team. We have friends on the Rochester, the Bats team. Mike Cooper is a good friend of the show.
Yeah.
and so they were hoping to repeat, but they ran into a very hot goalie at the USA team, and well, the rest, as they say, is history.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's
Well,
that?
there's so many good US ball players now playing box. Like that US team is going to be a different team than it has been over the last number of world box championships. There's no doubt about that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, you can thank US Boxlift for that. We had Anthony Crisell on a couple of weeks ago, and he talked ravingly about how the program has gone leaps and bounds, and hopefully he finds a spot with the Philadelphia Wings in the upcoming training camp.
Yeah.
Heck of a field player, and he's going to be a heck of a box player too. Got that football mentality. So, hit him.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk a bit about NLL with you. I actually want to start with the Bandits and your foray with them, because you were there through the golden years there in the MILL. Let's just talk about first starting with them and then building that team to be that juggernaut that it was.
Yeah, it was very interesting when I first got introduced to the ownership group at the time, Russ Klein and Chris Fritz. Mike French and I stayed in touch over the years, and when the Wings had started, I would go see the Wings play whenever I could, or if they were on the road. I would, when they were in Detroit, I got to see them play in Detroit. So I got to know the owners pretty good. And when they were putting the team in Buffalo, they asked me if I was interested in applying for the GM job. And I was helping Haswell Franklin. He was the GM of the Pittsburgh team at the time, and I was helping him doing some scouting as well. So I was at the point where I was so familiar with Russ and Chris, I wasn't on anybody's official roster, but I used to get 2 beer tickets after every game, no matter where I went, which, you got those 2 beer tickets. And of course the GM had a pocket full. So if you hung around the GM a little bit more than anybody else, you probably got an extra 2 or 3 over the night. So that was the pay. But, it was a lot of fun, and I got to know the league really, really good through Mike. And, Mike obviously highly recommended me for the position, and I applied. And, I was at a real interesting crossroads at that time. I don't know whether I ever shared this with you, Gary, in our conversations, but I was teaching high school at Kernahan Park in St. Catharines. And I had been there for about 6 or 7 years, and I was really interested in coaching at a U.S. college at some point. That was something I always wanted to do. So Jeff Long was kind enough to give me a grad assistantship at Ithaca in '92. At the same time, I started my master's program in the summer, and then he was kind enough to give me an opportunity to do my master's and help coach the Ithaca Bombers at the time. So I was at a crossroads, right? Do I take the NLL job? Or do I not take the NLL position and, go down the road to be a college assistant? It's a long road. You got to start as an assistant. You got to work your way up.
Yeah.
And I decided to take the NLL position, and I'm glad I did. So that was really how I got that position. And then we were pretty lucky. We had, Detroit was a border town. We were a border town, so we were allowed to have 12 Canadian players, which that's a big thing back then, to be able to have 12 Canadian players.
Sure.
And, Les Bartley started out, God bless him. He started out as going to be a player, actually. And he hadn't been playing for a few years after senior lacrosse, and he was working with General Motors at the time. And, we grew up pretty close friends, and went to the same elementary school, hung out all the time, played junior lacrosse together. And he started working out, and he's, when Les played lacrosse, junior lacrosse, he was a tough guy. He was a tough guy. And, I said, Les, if you come, you will be the captain of this lacrosse club. And he started working out. And then one day he called me and he said, we got to go for a beer. Went for a beer. And he said, I can't do it. I just can't do it. He says, I'm trying. I'm working out, but I just don't have that drive and that determination. And he knew that, it's different if you're a tough guy then, you've got to be a tough guy. And I know in his heart of hearts that just wasn't what he wanted to be at that point in his life.
Mhm.
So we gave him a scouting job. He was a scout and helped us. And when we started out 0-3, and we had Buff McCready, God bless him, as the head coach at the time. And at that point, Russ and Chris, they owned the whole league. So they had one of their coaches who was with Detroit, Peter Crawford. He was from Rochester and moved back. And they said, listen, Johnny, we would really like for you to have Peter as one of your coaches, because he's been in the league for a few years with Detroit. So I said, yeah, whatever you guys think I need to do, I'll do that. So after we were down by 0-3, and we were getting some nice crowds there in Buffalo to start, we're on the flight to Pittsburgh, and I talked to Russ and Chris, and I said, Russ, we really have to make a coaching change here. I said, we've got a far better team. I know all these guys. We had Kevin Alexander, we had Ross Cowie, Bill Geary. We made the trade for JT. We had John Tavares, Derek Keenan. I mean, you look at that team, Bob Hamley, great coaches and GMs in the league right now.
Mm-hmm. Derek Keenan was on that team as well.
Yeah. So I said, listen, I would be coaching the team, or Les Bartley will be coaching the team, but we need to have 3 coaches. And they said, yeah, well, if you need 3 coaches to make this happen, do it. So I'm on the flight with Les from Buffalo to Pittsburgh. And I said, so Les, if you were coaching the team tonight, show me what your roster would be. What would your power play be? What would your lines, all that kind of stuff. So he jotted down a few things. I already had all my notes already, right? Because I thought, I may be coaching this team,
Sure.
Which I really would have. But that wasn't my end goal. I just knew we had to have a change. And so Les wrote down all his stuff, and we started talking. I said, well, we're going to have a meeting, when we get to the hotel, and either you're going to be coaching the team tonight, or I'm going to be coaching the team tonight, because we have to make a change. And so we had a meeting with Pete, Buff. They were very good. And we made that change. And that was really, Les just came in, and we ended up winning 22 games in a row and 2 back-to-back championships. And that was notwithstanding, I'm not the smartest guy. And if I'm the smartest guy in the room, we're in big trouble anyways. But, you've got 12 Canadians, you got John Tavares, you got goaltending. We knew we had everything, right? Mm-hmm. We just needed that leadership on the bench to get these guys, because they were all coachable. And that was it. And I remember when we lost the game in Buffalo against Boston, and we didn't even keep track of how many games we were winning or anything. Mm-hmm. Well, the next year we got the Kilgore Bowl. I mean, we were great teams. We had a great Native American combination, U.S. combination, and Canadian combination. That was what was so magical about it.
Mm-hmm.
We had those 3 types of players. And I remember when Boston beat us, Marty O'Neill, someone went in the crease. Marty O'Neill, Marty's Marty, right? It
was JT.
JT.
That was JT that went in the crease.
Yeah, and then the Donnie book breaks out, right? Bench is empty. I mean, it's a mess. But, we ended up a nice little run there, and then won again in 92, 93,
96, I believe.
96, 92, 93, and 96.
Yeah, and you had a 22-game win streak. You went in 93, you went 10-0.
Yeah.
Magical years. And, of course, the Memorial Odd, which was just an absolute crazy place to be. That place was nuts. The only place crazier, I believe, was the Spectrum in Philadelphia. Yeah, even Boston Gardens wasn't anywhere close to the Memorial Odd. That place, when it was rocking, the whole place shook.
Yeah. And the beers were flowing. I mean, we heard the stories that, when the Bruins were playing against the Sabres, they used to sell the most amount of beers for any NHL game in that rink when Boston came, because all the Boston fans would show up and they'd be drinking, but except when the Bandits played, we outsold. So that was a good. The Knox family was very. The Knox family, they were very kind to us and the players, and gave us access to go see Sabres games and really treated us first class. It was a great experience.
And you made the playoffs in all 6 seasons. You were the general manager too, so it's a big feather as well. Now you make the move. You leave there and you come to the Waters Group, and I guess it was still the Ontario Raiders going towards Toronto when you joined up with Bill and the team.
Yeah, we when Russ and Chris, the Players Association was starting at that time, and it was really important for it to start because the players were seeing the Odd was sold out, Philly was doing really well. Now there was still some bad franchises, but they were able to really work hard. I give as hard as it was being a GM and being in management at the time, like it was really tough. Like it was a tough time because I'm in management. Like I've got to take the hat of the ownership group, and I know all these guys, and I got to really be a hard sort of pain in the butt to them, which wasn't fun and wasn't easy. And thank heavens they all still talk to me. They split the league off when the players got the PLF, the Players Association started, and then we went to Hamilton for the 1 year. Mm-hmm. Russ and Chris owned that team. They still they owned that team, and Les and I went, and we were able to Jimmy Veltman was involved in all those teams that won championships, and he was a captain or an assistant captain on all those championship teams. And when you have leadership like that, it makes everybody's life. Jimmy makes everybody around him better. He made everybody around him better. He made me a better GM. He made Les a better head coach. But we played in Philly, and the last game of that season with the Raiders, and the crowds weren't very good in Hamilton at the time. Mm-hmm. And Russ and Chris were getting killed financially because it's a Canadian franchise. Everything was in U.S. money, like all the salaries, and you're traveling to the USA. So we didn't make the playoffs. We lost that playoff bid with a tiebreaker. But we knew we had a really good team. And then the next year Bill was looking to buy the team, and I was really excited that he was going to buy the team, but we didn't know, we weren't really aware of anything. We just know that Bill Waters was putting a group together. So Bill and I had talked, and I said, Bill, I'd like to apply for the job. I'd like to stay with the team. And I was teaching school at the time. And so I went, and he said, well, let's have a meeting, come to Maple Leaf Gardens. And I said to the principal at the time, Randy Dix, who was the principal of the high school, I said, Randy, I might ask for a 2-year leave if I get this position. This was like at the beginning of September, right before school was starting. I think we had 1 day of school or something, or the PD day, professional development day. She goes, well, let me know. You have to let me know tonight. So I met with Bill, and we started talking, and we had a good meeting, and was a funny guy, right? Mm-hmm. And he said, I said, I have to know tonight, Bill. I have to know tonight because I've got to take, we need someone full-time here. He said, yeah, we need someone full-time here. So I said, well, you have to let me know tonight. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to get the time off. He thought about it, swore a couple of words. He's a big swear guy, a few F-bombs. He goes, okay, yeah, you're the effing smartest lacrosse guy in the world, Mouradian. Okay, you're the best. I hear you. Okay, you got the job. Call your principal, basically. Randy, I got the job. I need 2 years off because he said you got to come for 2 years. And that's the most time you could get off from teaching then, in a row. So it was pretty interesting. It was everything sort of, I don't know. I've just been in the right spot at the right time, and blessed on a lot of. Here I am, Maple Leaf Gardens, right? And it was a great experience. The OLA was very, very involved in our initial season ticket holder program. We went to the and Stan, obviously, Cochran was very instrumental in their board. And we didn't know what was going to happen, but we knew that, and we felt, because Stan and the board said, like, we're big time behind this. Like, if we're in Maple Leaf Gardens, and we went to the AGM, I think it was in November, and we came out of there with about 2,500 season tickets, like that everybody had bought. We had Jimmy Calder, who was one of the partners. We had this plan where we had a bunch of balloons, and they spent $5 for a balloon, and in the balloon, it was a fundraiser for the OLA as well. So every balloon either had 2 free season tickets, half price season tickets, full season tickets. And so if they paid $5, whatever they popped that balloon, they had to buy. Right. And so it was spectacular how many season tickets. Now, Jimmy was smart too. We just priced the lower bowl all the same. So all the lower bowl was $20. So if you were buying tickets right away, you were sitting in Maple Leaf Gardens in a gold seat for $20. Like, wow. And everybody knew the Gardens wasn't going to be there for much longer. So it was a chance for people to actually sit in those gold seats in Maple Leaf Gardens. And, we're winning. And Bill had so many relationships with Molson's Pizza, and then, the Toronto papers, the Sun, and it was a magical time, and you're winning, and you're getting media, and you're selling tickets.
Right.
And you're in Maple Leaf Gardens, which is unbelievable.
Now, we got to go with the story on how the Rock's name became the Rock.
Oh, that's a funny story. Like that.
I love that story. I can hear it 100 times.
Yeah, it's a funny story. So we're looking at a name, trying to get the name. Toronto. Bill was from Aurelian decades ago. It used to be the Aurelia Terriers Lacrosse. Yeah, I could be like, Bill, you got like nobody's walking around with Toronto Terriers on their t-shirts and jerseys. And then there was another one was the Toronto Traffic, Toronto Tornado, So we had already had a couple meetings with Q107 to help promote and stuff. And I was coming back from Peterborough at the time, coming down the Don Valley, and we're thinking about names and everything. And I see the tower, and you got the tower there, and I'm listening to Q107, right? I'm listening to it on the radio, Rock Q107, and I go, oh my God, like Utah Jazz, St. Louis Blues, Toronto Rock. I go, Toronto Rock. So I call Bill. I go, Bill, I got the name. He goes, oh, yeah, here you go again, Johnny. You're the smartest lacrosse guy in the world. F-bomb this. You're new one every time, right? And it's like his affection. That's the way he shows his love. I've never been verbally abused by someone that loves you, I guess. I don't know. And then so I go, okay, Bill. He goes, okay, you got the name, Johnny. I go, okay, bear with me. I go, St. Louis. I go, what's their name? St. Louis. He goes, Blues. I go, okay. Utah what, Bill? Utah Jazz. And I go, okay. Toronto. He goes, Toronto Jazz? And I go, no, Toronto Rock, as in rock and roll. He goes, that's the worst name. I can't never do this. Ever. Terrible. And all of a sudden he goes, you know what? I think I like it. Yeah, that sounds pretty good. Now he's all over it, right?
Right. Sure.
So Q107. We had Rob McDougall, God bless him. He did the logo with the guitar, air guitar on the tower, the CN tower. And, that was the name. And, it's funny. I tell people that and they laugh. Some people believe me and some don't. They go, come on. Especially if you tell them after you've had a few beers. Then
absolutely.
They think bullshit, right?
But the rest, as they say, is history. That team was spectacular. 4 championships in 5 years. Should have been 5, but
Yeah.
but for a really really hot goalie by the name of Eliuk.
Yes,
And
yeah. He was unbelievable. I think we only scored 8 goals that game. I think it was like 9-8 or something. It was low scoring.
yeah, and the last goal was like seconds left, so it really didn't mean anything.
Yeah. And it was that would have been the first three-peat. That they, because we had 2 with Toronto, and then we 2 with Buffalo, and then we lost, and then we had the 2 with Toronto, and Philly had 2, and then we beat Philly one year, and it was sort of like who would get to that. But hey, guys, I like to watch the game down low, like I'm right there at the glass, and I saw guys like players that they were just so tight. Like the ball would fly out of a stick and the pass would just like everything was just out of sync, and it was just one of those games that, we struggled and they did everything right, and hot goaltenders. I mean, we've won championships with goaltenders. They won with Dallas. I mean,
Yeah.
Dallas, no secret. I mean, look at Buffalo Bandits right now. Look at the teams that win championships.
Yeah.
We had goaltenders.
I actually had a bunch of guys from that team on, and one of the things that really got them was that basically the parade route was already mapped out. The Toronto was the class of the league that year. Philadelphia was just in, and all they heard was Toronto going to win, Toronto, la, 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 and they used that as fuel. And Millen, he had the game of his life in that game, and Eliuk, of course, and a few others, and they just absolutely went to town. And they took that game. They earned it.
Yeah.
Took it.
Yeah, and you know what? They were very well coached, and they, Tony Resch and the guys that he's coached with over the years, and they, they worked their butt off. Like they worked hard, and I remember someone saying that they actually had they actually had the articles out of the paper, I think, and had it posted saying that like these guys already think they won the championship, no way. But you got a lot of respect for that. And Mike French and I, it was really interesting because he was instrumental in getting me the opportunity. And then when all the times we played against, whether it was Buffalo or whether it was with the Rock, I couldn't sit with Mike anywhere near him during the game, right? We were best friends, like his team, my I wouldn't see him till after. But
ironically, you wound up going next and working for Mike.
Yeah.
From Philadelphia.
I went to Philly after being out in San Jose for a little bit. I think it was about 7 years in San Jose. But I was in Buffalo. I was in Ottawa for a little stint.
Right.
And then I got fired. Brad Waters fired me. We bought the franchise from Rochester. I don't think they won a handful of games while they were in Rochester. And so our group bought that franchise. All U.S. ball players except for there was some BC guys that couldn't really fly in. So it was basically a shell team. Like it was a shell team. It was a franchise. But back then they were only $250,000. So, we bought that. The group bought it, and then they struggled the first year, and I was sort of helping them, but I had to go back and teach. And then they asked me to take another leave. Well, so I took a year off, and I moved up to Ottawa, retooled the coaching staff. Bobby Allen was one of our scouts, and we had Marty Cooper and Keith McLeod was one of our coaches. And after we lost a few games, Brad called me up and said, you got to change the coaching staff. You got to get rid of the coaches. I said, well, that's not going to help, Brad. I mean, it's just not going to help. Like, we have no assets. We don't have any draft picks. We don't have any players we can trade. We've got to sort of try and put this thing together. So he said, I'm coming up to Ottawa a couple of days. Think about it. And let me know. And I said, well, I'm not firing anybody, Brad. He goes, well, if you're not going to fire anybody, I might have to fire you. I go, well, you might have to fire me, but I'm not firing these guys. They don't deserve to be fired.
Right.
So we had practice. There was a practice because we were practicing midweek. So we were practicing. I went to the guys. I goes, guys, I might not be here after tomorrow. I said, I don't know who's going to be here. I might not be here, but let's have a good practice. And, let's see what happens. And he came in and he said, well, you're going to fire coaches? And I said, no, I'm not firing anybody. And I had a lacrosse picture on the wall. I took my lacrosse picture off the wall and walked out of the office. Said, see you later. And that was it.
Right.
But Brad liked firing people. We fired Derek Keenan. He fired Eddie Como. That's what he did, right? He thought that was what he was supposed to do. But so it showed up on I think it was the ticker tape, TSN ticker tape.
Mm-hmm.
And then Marty was watching. He saw that he got fired, and I was coaching staff because I didn't know what was going to happen. Right? He was just St. Catharines, but yeah, that was it. And I think, you know what? I've had to let coaches go before, and when you have to, and when you shouldn't. I'm not going to let my friend that I know we're not going to have a good, that we don't have the assets, we don't have a team, and let them go. What to save my butt? Not going to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about Philadelphia because I think you were way ahead of your time with that team and using a lot of U.S. players. If you were in there now, especially with we talked earlier about U.S. box law, I think that would have been a genius move. But back then, it was still U.S. guys trying to get a feel for the box game, and the confined area gave them a little bit of problems.
Yeah, well, I looked at what the Wings did before. They had a sprinkle of Canadians, and they had great goaltending, and they also practiced during the week. And so if you have an opportunity to practice during the week and local players, I think that in my mind's eye, that's a huge opportunity and a huge asset for your organization. So that's what we tried to do. We really did. We were able to get Paul Rabel. We had Mundorf, Westerveld. We had, like, at the time, B. Miller and Blaisdell in goal. So we did have some, we had a few Canadians, but we wanted to get more Americans. And we were very, very close. They had struggled, and then I helped as the GM and then head coach. And we lost to Rochester like 2 years in a row, one by 1 goal and one by 2. And they went on to win, 3 championships in a row. And we lost that close in Rochester too.
Mm-hmm.
And we were that close. And then with the World Field Championships coming up, a lot of the U.S. guys were banged up from playing in the summertime. And then that following year, they didn't want to play in the NLL. So that really then went a step backwards for us. But you know what? We could understand, like, if you're banged up and you're playing for your country and you don't want to get banged up. But the Canadian guys stayed and played in the NLL at the time, and the Canadians won the World Championship in Colorado that year. So it was a bittersweet. The Wings struggled, but the Canadian national team won.
Now, you also kept busy with the Canadian team, field and box. You were part of the group that organized Heritage Cup and World Indoor Lacrosse Championships. Your plate is always full, eh?
Yeah. As my wife says, you always try and put 10 pounds in a 5-pound bag. And so lately I've been trying to just put 5 pounds in that bag because I guess. But you know what? We always felt like Stan was on the World Lacrosse board, and he was the president later on. But we always thought that, we're a box country, but we're competing in field. And so, we really lobbied basically him, Stan did a lot of it, obviously, to say we really feel there should be a box world championship. And they said, yes, no, yes. And then they finally said yes. And so we started the Heritage Cup the year before. And in order to, plant the seed. And the U.S. beat us, actually. They beat us in this first Heritage Cup game. But we built an all-star team, not a competition team, like we had too many offensive guys. But we thought, you know what, that's what we got to do. There was a lot of guys that, deserved to play. And they beat us pretty good. And then so obviously then we built the team for the Worlds. And, we should win. We should win. The one year, I think it was 2007, though, we almost lost to the Iroquois back in that Worlds. That was the closest one. I think Jeff Zawicki scored the winner. We beat him by 1. But it's a great program, and now the girls are going to play now box, and but the first year. We thought we would move it around. So we were in Oshawa for a couple games, I think. And then we're in Mississauga. And then I think it was Hamilton. I think we moved it around anyways. I can't remember exactly the locations. But that was really our philosophy was, let's try and move these games around. And I still think that right now, I don't have any say in how it should be run, but I'll tell you one thing, we could be showcasing that World Box Championships. And, we had it out in Langley, and you know what, who's going to go to Langley? They're just not going to go there. And so you're playing, the Iroquois, the Haudenosaunee in Canada, and it's like 3/4 full, Yeah. So I don't understand why who's ever running this would not say, okay, USA, Canada in Buffalo, one game. That's your, the big games. Canada, Haudenosaunee, and Saskatchewan. I don't know. Like, look at the 3, maybe Toronto, right? USA, Canada, in wherever. Like, but take those marquee pinnacle games and get them in the big markets.
Yeah.
And you've got season ticket bases, you got rabid fans, you got media, and then showcase it, but still have a smaller place or 2 rinks somewhere where a lot of games are going to be played. And I think we've got to get to that, because that to me would really make it something. Like, hey, I haven't been to Utica in that facility, but is that where you want Canada and the Haudenosaunee or Canada USA to? Right. How many people are going to go to all those games? They're just not. So. Right. Anyways, that's my point of view.
For sure. What's your take on the sixes that are going? We just had the men's last weekend, and we had the women's in Oshawa this weekend. What's the take on it?
I love it. I think it's a fantastic way to grow the game. As you know, we started youth lacrosse in Armenia this summer. Notwithstanding, we've had a real tragedy there with Azerbaijan attacking one of our enclaves, but we think it's a phenomenal way to grow the game, and that's all we're going to do in Armenia sixes. I think it makes a lot of sense. It's not specialized, it's fast, it's shot clock, and the only part that I'm trying to figure out is, getting youth lacrosse goalies that, because you're going to get with no pads, you're going to
get hammered.
You're going to get nailed a lot. And so who are you going to get to play goal, right? To start out with. So I think there's got to be some level of padding of some sort, not big pads, but, like you've got to be able to block the ball a little bit more than catch it, because some of these kids that are just starting, they can't even catch yet, right? So that's the biggest one for me, I think. But I love if you miss the net, hey, you lose the ball. I like pick the ball up and go, and I like it how not specialized it is. I think that's really good. And I would be looking for the big 6 foot. How tall are you, Shawn?
I'm 6 feet.
Yeah, I'd be looking for 6 foot, 6'3", 6'2" gazelles, and just go run. because there's not much contact, right?
Yeah.
Contact is very limited, and you just need helmets and gloves. And without contact, I think it's a lot easier. If you got an athlete like a 6'3", 6'4" basketball athlete, I mean, that understands picks and seals and can go up and down. I mean, I think there's going to be some good competition.
Mm-hmm. There's my
I think
son.
Canada will still prevail.
There's my son at 6'2" at 17 as a gazelle.
Yeah, I saw a picture of him.
Yeah, he's a gazelle.
Yeah.
He was the MVP of the Fan Cup. He was a gazelle.
Yeah, that's what you want. I would get 12 gazelles, right?
Absolutely.
Like
And
little
again, you can
short
always put
guys like
together a
me,
game, right?
little short guys like me aren't playing on the Sixers national team. There's no way.
But it is TV friendly, right? When we had Mark Ritchie on the other show, but he's the CEO of USA Lacrosse, of course, and he was talking about it as a grassroots thing. Unlike field lacrosse, which you're going to get that baseball right fielder, the kid who just wants to be with his buddies, isn't really athletic, going to hang out midfield, and hopefully the ball doesn't come to him, just so he know he can be there. Well, in sixes, with the smaller field and everybody running around all over the place, he gets to learn the game without even knowing he's learning the game.
That's right.
And gets a love for the game. And, for all those traditionalists out there, we can teach you all the tradition after we get the other people watching.
Yes.
Let's get them watching first.
Yeah.
Then we can worry about tradition. Because if we're doing tradition, we'd still have 300 people on a field for 3 days shooting at stuff in trees, right?
Yeah, exactly. And speaking of like tradition, I think 4-on-4 box is a phenomenal game. Like when I do a lot of youth stuff for the field kids that are just starting to investigate sticking their toe in the box water, we play 4-on-4 and they love it. And they love it, and they don't have to worry about getting blindsided as much. And so I think 4-on-4 box is to box what sixes is for field and the sport of lacrosse too.
Right, guys, do you have any questions for Johnny?
No, I'm good, Mike.
Nothing offhand. I just appreciate hearing all the stories.
Oh, there's lots of stories.
I do want to talk about lacrosse tough with you. Your thing now that you're doing, and let's talk about first of all how you got involved, and with Greg Shelley.
Yeah, so I went to Ithaca College for my undergraduate and graduate, and I lived in St. Catharines, grew up. And so when the first weekend I came home, my dad and all his buddies thought I went to Attica. And I go, no, Dad, that's the penitentiary. Ithaca's the college. And then the next week I came home and we would meet them at the Golden Pheasant Hotel across from GM where we lived, because all the buddies would go there for beers on Friday. And I didn't have classes on Friday, so I would go home. It was only like 3.5 hours. The next weekend I go home. I'd go have a beer with all my dad, God bless my buddies. How's things at Utica? I go, no, it's Ithaca. So finally, they got it. And so when we started The Rock, I had did my master's in sports performance with an emphasis in applied sports psychology. And Greg Shelley had started there after I had left in 92. So I had got to meet him a couple of times, and then I had a bunch of hands-on stuff that we used to do with the with the Bandits, because I would in class in the day at Ithaca, and then we would go to practice and we would use some of the stuff that I was actually learning, and it was very cool. So I got to know Greg, and then we went to Toronto. I asked him, he had started a consulting business, and he was a professor at Ithaca. And back then he had started his high performance company called Rise Above. And so I asked him if he would come in and do some things with the Toronto Rock. And he said, yeah. So we hired him. He came in and did a bunch of stuff with us and did some stuff with Ottawa the first year we were there, not the second year because I got fired. And then, we became good friends and kept in touch. And I started doing some stuff, like high performance stuff, just building a culture, how to build a culture on a team, how to build toughness, how to build your mind body connection, so you stayed focused. And so I was doing some stuff, and then I got a hold of him and I said, listen, I think there's a nice little opportunity here in the lacrosse landscape. And he's worked with a bunch of different, he works with Major League Soccer, he's worked with pro golfers. He retired from Ithaca College, and now he's the director of sports leadership and mental conditioning at Cornell. So we put together this Lacrosse Tough program. I'm the lacrosse guy. He's built all these fantastic modules over the years that we use. And, we worked with the women's German national team when they were at the field championship 2 summers ago. And last year we started working with Gary Gate at Syracuse University. We're working with his men's program, working with the coach at Stanford University. So we're really just, and he's pretty busy. So and then I'm starting to do some high school stuff, which is a little lower. I've done some high school stuff, but this is like more of like the modules that we're using with the colleges and brought down to about 5 sessions. So yeah, it's a lot of fun, and everybody talks about it. Everybody said, yeah, we don't have a mental game, or we lost our focus. And we go, well, what are you doing for that? Like, what's your plan? What do you have? So we've got some great stuff, and it's going pretty good. We're trying to, I think we've got one NLL team that we might be working with. We're just
that's my next question, because that's where I think it would really be useful, because professionals, once they start getting off the trail, really could use somebody to get them back on the trail.
Yeah. The tough part with the NLL right now is because they're limited the number of hours they can be with their players. They have their practice, and then they have another hour of non-practice time and an hour shoot around. So it's the time, right? They're just getting that time. Yep. But if we can get with the coaches and teach them, then they can use it with their players all the time.
Sure.
But it's fun. It's fun to watch. And Dr. Shelley's a great guy, and he's phenomenal. He's phenomenal.
Excellent. Well, Johnny, I want to thank you as always. I absolutely love it, because time just flies. I'm telling you.
Yeah, it does. Oh my God.
It's crazy, because there's another 1,000 stories in there that, I'm sure that, I want to reserve the right to get you back on, because I want to delve into more stories and more background. And, I want to get into the Canadian field and some of the other stories back then, the St. Catharines days and all of that as well. Just if you have time, in the near future, not too distant future.
The big story would be, one of them would be the difference in 1974 on the Canadian national team in 74, and then 4 years later in 78. That's a fantastic story. That is amazing. And the number of kids that are now at U.S. colleges because we won the world championship, was amazing.
Yeah, I remember talking with Dave Durrani, and that's basically what formed the program, was because of the popularity of you guys winning a gold in the Miracle in Manchester.
Yeah.
The program started forming mostly out west, but it started forming just after that, and the rest, as I say, is history. And watching field build up in Canada, and watching some of the Canadian box guys make it on scholarships over the U.S. over the years now.
Yeah. And, when I was on the team in 74, there was only 2 players, Mike French and I, that were playing field. And then in 78, there was 6. And now everybody pretty much in the Canadian coaching staff are all U.S. college graduates. So we've caught up to the U.S., although, we're 3 goals behind them now after the last world championship. But I think we're going to be able to close that gap now. I think hopefully, because I think we're not 3 goals below them personnel wise.
No, not at all. And the game was a little weird. The whole series was a little weird. I was out in San Diego for it. Even the first game was a little strange the way it was played.
Yeah. I just thought that Canada just played too slow. I just thought they were playing too, just go play, just go play and enjoy. And, because that clock, the clock just ticks, if you're not playing fast. But, You know what? I know Gary Gates coaching the next junior team. So, I think they're going to do pretty well because he's a marvelous coach and a marvelous human being.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, that would be a good story.
Absolutely. So, yeah, let's mark it in our books. I'll be in touch with you, and we'll get you back on, and let's talk some more about that and really about the development of the field program in Canada.
Yeah, that's a whole great story. Okay,
Absolutely.
guys, thanks, Gary, as always.
Oh,
John,
my pleasure.
take care.
Great, thanks, Johnny. You take care.
It's always fun to have you on.
Thank you.
Take care, guys.
You take
Thanks
care.
a
Have
lot.
a great night. Happy Thanksgiving, Canadian side.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
guys.
That was Johnny Mouradian. What a pleasure to have Johnny on. I'm telling you, there's so many stories. Such a character, but my God, the accomplishments are just beyond belief. And, when he's telling you about these things, it really did happen. I remember a lot of that stuff being in the middle of it. So, all the Raider stuff and the Rock stuff and all that stuff. I remember talking with him after games in Philadelphia and going through stories and things like that, meeting up in Minto Cups and chatting because he's always there. Even though he's retired now, he's living in Florida, he's always there. And he always has his, we have our finger on the pulse. He always has his foot in the mix. So he's there. And, always with some great ideas and different ideas. And, that Lacrosse Tough one is fantastic with him and Greg Shelley. And, it keeps him involved. And I love that because we need these minds still involved in the game. That's what's going to get us to the next level.
Yeah, for sure.
Can't argue with that.
All right. Just before we move on, I want to remind everybody that this part of our show is brought to you by Sherry's Ticket Town.
All right, guys, it's time to talk about Sherry's Tickets. Sherry'sTickets.com is easy to use and has no hidden fees. The price you see is the price you pay. Pay less and play more with Sherry'sTickets.com. Save even more by using the exclusive promo code EOP10. That's EOP10. Do not pay hidden fees and save 10%. Why use any other ticket reseller and get those hard-to-come-by tickets to the big game? If you need a more personal touch, give them a call at 610-494-5050. That's 610-494-5050. Sherry'sTickets.com also has great theater and concert tickets that are hard to get your hands on. Remember, do not overpay and save with the best at Sherry'sTickets.com. Save 10% using the promo code EOP10. That's EOP10. You'll thank us later. Sherry'sTickets.com.
Absolutely. And Patrick was with us during the interview. So 6 more weeks to the NLL. Absolutely, Patrick. Yeah. Loved you this morning. Patrick's on everywhere, man, because he's everywhere with the Eagles, the Phillies. He's Steel Steps. He's the guy. He's busy. He's probably resting at the moment. And as for Eduardo, I believe it's Longboat Keys, Eduardo. I think that's where he's at, Longboat Keys, if I remember right. I don't know if that's anywhere close to Jacksonville, but, hey, it's worth the drive. Also, remember, guys, you can support by sending stars. Stars help earn money to make more content. So send us stars on Facebook, if you could. Anyways, we have some news. First off, we have a not great one. The World of Lacrosse lost a biggie. They lost Dean McLeod. Born in Brampton in 1945, Dean McLeod took immense pride in his hometown of Brampton, forever identifying himself as a proud Brampton Excelsior. He wore many hats in the lacrosse community, but it was in 1982 that he took on a role that will forever define his legacy. Commissioner of the Ontario Junior A Lacrosse League. McLeod served as commissioner for an astounding 37 years, becoming an indomitable force in the lacrosse community. His unwavering dedication to the league and the sport as a whole was unparalleled. Among his major contributions to the Ontario Junior A Lacrosse League was the introduction of the league's entry draft and the establishment of the OJLL as a premier league for young lacrosse players in Canada. Under his guidance, the eventual Ontario Provincial Championship team captured an astounding 28 out of 37 Minto Cup Canadian National Championship titles during his tenure. Dean often reflected on his journey as the commissioner of the OJLL, cherishing the memories of the countless personalities he worked with across Ontario and Canada. In 2021, Dean McLeod was honored by Lacrosse Canada with the prestigious Lester B. Pearson Award, a testament to his outstanding contributions and distinguished leadership in lacrosse. The Lester B. Pearson Award is presented annually to a member of the Canadian lacrosse community in recognition of their unselfish dedication and outstanding contributions of sportsmanship and distinguished leadership to the game of lacrosse and to the physical and mental development of young Canadians. Dean McLeod's legacy in lacrosse spans over 50 years, leaving an indelible mark on the sport and countless lives he touched. His passion for lacrosse was infectious, and his knowledge was a guiding light for many in the lacrosse community. Even his retirement as commissioner in 2018, Dean remained an integral part of the OJLL, continuing to serve as an advisor and league historian, offering invaluable insights to Commissioner Mark Grimes and Deputy Commissioner Bob Cleveley during the transition into their roles. Dean was not just a respected colleague, he was an admired friend whose wisdom and kindness will be sorely missed. His passion, dedication, and love for the league were unwavering until the very end. Dean McLeod. Some other news. This one's interesting. The Coquitlam Adanacs fired their head coach, Peter Tellis, a month after almost winning the Minto Cup. I can understand if you didn't make it to the playoffs. I can understand maybe if you didn't make it to the you lost in the Minto Cup. There has to be more to this. One would think.
Yeah, that's interesting.
That one's an interesting one. That one is a head scratcher. Here's another head scratcher, and this one doesn't know about the OJLL on this one. Nepean says OJLL entry nixed after at least 2 Board of Governor representatives voted down the bid. In their statement, as many of you within the Nepean lacrosse community and elsewhere know, we have long been in the process of applying to move up to the OJLL. They are Senior B at the moment. To be transparent, we wanted to provide some details on the process. Our bid to move our team to the OJLL has been denied by the league's Board of Governors. While we had strong support from the majority of the OJLL team governors, we needed to secure 90% approval, meaning all it took was 2 of 11 teams to say no to reject our bid. This is obviously very disappointing for our players, coaches, volunteers, families, and fans. Based on the success of our program and growth of lacrosse in Nepean and Eastern Ontario, our players deserve to play at the highest caliber and play at home. Nepean players have been majority contributors to 2 of the past 3 Minto Cup winning teams, and for the first time in league history, a Nepean player was the OJLL MVP in 2022. We also won the Founders Cup in 2022. Several of our players, especially in recent years, have graduated out of junior and are now playing in the NLL. Our minor program is robust and successful, including at the A level. We have the talent here. While this decision is discouraging, we will continue to push to move to Junior A, plus develop more strong players capable of playing lacrosse at the highest levels. Thank you, Nepean Knights. So that one I don't believe is over just yet. But for now, that's about it. Now we talked briefly with Johnny Mouradian about the men's and women's sixes, and this past weekend in Oshawa, the women's had their sixes tournament from World Lacrosse, their Super Sixes, and in third place we had the Haudenosaunee, who just over the last week over in Laxton was the first time they had a commissioned team. Well, now the women's field sixes team, they won 21-4 today over Kenya to win the bronze medal. And believe it or not, the U.S. beat Canada 8-7 for the gold medal. And last weekend we had the men's, much better weather last weekend. This weekend they played in all kinds of conditions, wind, rain, all kinds of things. So not the greatest of weekends to be playing outdoor, but they're tough. One other feel-good story. Johnny Davis, senior, of course, NLL fame from the 70s, one of the greatest players of all time, if not the greatest player. At 79 years old, he's playing field with his son, Jeff, out in Peterborough. John just got, his second knee replaced. So he spent the summer golfing, and I guess he's in shape now, too. And he's not just standing there. He's had a few goals. I think he had 11 assists in the last game he played. Just incredible.
That's awesome. That's
Isn't that
awesome.
something?
Yeah.
79
Yeah.
years young and still scoring and assisting.
Awesome.
And
That's
apparently
awesome.
they don't have 6x6 nets there. They're only using the 4x4s. So Shooter definitely still has his name and still has his eyes.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty incredible. I love that. That's a
Great
great
to see.
feel-good
Great.
story.
That's absolutely great.
All right, just before we get into all the NLL stuff, I want to bring one more ad, and that would be the Philly Sports Trips.
All right, guys, if you're a Philly sports fan and you want to travel with your favorite team, then travel with the best. Go to phillysportstrips.com. They have self-travel packages and full travel packages available with round-trip flights from the Philadelphia airport. Packages include direct flights, 4-night stays, all-inclusive tailgate parties, lower-level group tickets. Whatever you want, you got it with phillysportstrips.com. If you want to travel to an upcoming Phillies game, make sure you check out Philly Sports Trips. And do not forget, Philly Sports Trips has all the away trips for the Eagles' upcoming 2023 season. Jump on it now, because you do not want to lose out on all these great opportunities. Go to phillysportstrips.com.
Absolutely. And with the NLL season coming up, you're going to want to check out all of those things, as well as with the Eagles. You're going to want to check all those out. And just to keep tradition up, the Eagles did win today. Fly, Eagles, fly. Shawn, Argos are 13-2, eh?
Yeah, don't even talk about my Riders.
Yeah, I expected your Riders to do something over there. And then
Well,
cop
you're
up.
honoring one of their all-time great running backs. You have your former Grey Cup champions in the house, and you lay an egg. Go figure that one out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Eduardo, 21-4. Yes, 21-4. But at least Kenya is there. They have
Yeah.
a team. They have a team. And they're fourth in this little tournament. A couple of teams pulled out, though, unfortunately, due to travel concerns or whatever. But, I look forward to more teams, African teams, and some of the other ones joining in. It should be an exciting time. And six is, like we said, all you need is really a pair of shoes and a helmet and gloves and a stick. And away you go. And it's a fantastic game. It's fun to watch. It's great for the TV. With the right angles, it is fast. So exactly what the television people want. So anyways, why don't we start attacking some of this NLL stuff, guys? Because, as Pat's reminding us, there's only 6 weeks till we start looking at it for real, and it's only 4 weeks until we start getting preseason games to take up my Saturday evenings. Go track. I just have my regular parking spot there, I'm there an awful lot. First off, though, the Saskatchewan Rush, they've made another trade with the Toronto Rock. Dan Linder's coming back to Toronto.
Yeah.
Now, everybody remember, Dan Linder was a first-round pick and played with Toronto for many years. He was actually brought into Toronto for the Kevin Crowley trade that sent him over to New England. So Linder is back and a fifth-round pick, and in return, Saskatchewan gets Jameson Dilks, who's a great player, good defenseman. Just didn't get enough chance to play with the just the richness that's over here in Toronto.
Lose one day, the Ducks get another one.
Yeah, he's gonna get a chance to play there. So, and a second-round pick in 2024. And before all the Toronto people go, "Oh, we have no picks in Toronto," I remember what I said last week. The location. A lot of these guys are coming as free agents. So that's your first and second round picks, guys. They've already proved themselves. You don't have to try and see if they make it. All right. Vegas signed Kevin Millen as their offensive coordinator. So they're in good shape. Sean Williams and him, they're in good shape.
Yep.
A big one for Philadelphia is they locked in Holden Cattoni for 3 years. That's big. With the team that they're building in there, to have him set in there for the next few years, that's going to be big. You got Mitch Jones in there for a few years as well. The two of them are going to be lightning. Throw in Russet Terrence, throw in Blair's Reardon, throw in Tate Cattoni, throw in a few other guys, and my God, that is an offense that's just only one ball. That's going to be the biggest problem. All these stars, one ball. So that's up to Paul Day to figure that one out. But then again, most of these guys play in Peterborough. So they've already come to an understanding how this works. So I got a feeling, Philadelphia, you're in for a big year. I like your goaltending too. Sorry, Pat. Sorry, Pat. I like both your goaltenders, actually. Deacon is awesome, man. And I'm hoping he gets some game time this year because everybody's going to see just how great a goalie he is. All right, over to Buffalo. And this plot thickens. We keep getting goalies signed there that are NLL caliber. So we have 3 of them on there for a bunch of years, right? We have Devlin, we have Matt Vince, and now Steven Orleman has signed on with a 2-year contract. So, plus they had Konstantopoulos in the draft. I like the way I got that name rolling off my tongue. But that's pretty amazing, I would say. Yeah. And, boy, oh boy, training camp is going to be interesting over there. Buffalo also signed Ian McKay for 3 years, and that's huge because if they needed a goaltender, I'm pretty sure Ian McKay would strap on the pads and get himself in net because he's done everything else. They need him to play 200 feet. He plays 200 feet. They need him to be offense. He's offense. Transition, defense, anything you need him to do. He parks cars before the game. He is just incredible. Amazing. That's a great signing too. Yeah. Rochester got a steal, eh? They got Greg Harnett signed to a 1-year contract. This took me by surprise. I'm sure it took a lot of us by surprise. Remember that with him holding up the 2019 championship trophy with Calgary as the assistant captain. So there is some of that that they lost with Paul Dawson coming back, that veteran leadership that they're looking for. And a guy who knows how to win.
Yep.
Also a tough guy because you lost both of that with Paul. Or all 3 of that, actually.
You hit on the head. Leadership. Big time.
So big time with Harnett. For you Philadelphia guys, we're sorry. Greg Downey is joining his brother in Colorado. Now the Downey brothers are in the Loud House. It's going to be awful loud there. But, he had a good little stint in Philadelphia, and now over to Colorado. And we'll see how he goes on there. That's going to be another barn burner of a training camp. There's some fantastic players going into camp there. So, the best of the best for the fans. But I feel sorry for some of the guys who don't make it because they really should make it in other years. Interesting conundrum to have. Still don't think we need more teams? I think we do. At least 1 or 2. But we'd have to realign.
Would we though with the new system?
Hey, what's that?
Would we though with the new system?
We'll keep following them on. Yeah.
There's no divisions anymore.
Games, we had 18 teams, then we'd have everybody playing everybody once.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. All right. So over in Halifax, Jake McNabb and Aaron Woods, both forwards are signed on. So again, that's another one that's going to be an interesting one. A lot of fast guys into Halifax, transition guys and things. So there's going to be a whole host of people into that one. Once we start seeing depth charts, we'll see exactly how many. But I have a feeling it's going to be a lot like last year, where these things are this long.
Yeah,
both righty and lefty. Over to Saskatchewan, who was busy this week. Not only did they get Jameson Dilks, they signed Ryan Keenan for a couple of years. They signed Jake Bowen for a couple of years. They signed Sam Marshall for a couple of years. Also, Thomas Gezik, and he's in for a couple of years. Busy time there, Derek.
And released Alex Bouquet as well.
Yeah, that's the other one. Now it's coming.
Yeah.
It was coming. Alex Bouquet. He's part of the bye-bye tour.
Yeah.
Interesting that they signed a goalie and got rid of him.
Yep.
So you still have way too many goalies in camp.
Yeah. I think Kiazik is draftless though. So, right?
Yep.
Yeah, he was a drafted player.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, if they're on the draft list, they're probably going back to school.
Right.
So.
Right. Just interesting to see how many are there. Now, of course, Bouquet is on his world tour, so he'll land somewhere else.
Yeah. How many teams is this now?
Yeah, it's a 5 or 6.
It's getting up there. It's
a long list now.
So,
but yeah, I'm just in it for his interviews. Love his energy.
Have the bleep button ready to go.
Still memorable. Got to put the 8-second delay on him.
Yeah.
Have your finger right on the button because you never know when that F-bomb will drop. Over to Vancouver, a big signing there, a re-signing. And as Adam Charlambides, wouldn't expect any less, actually. Molosky has put together quite the group. And they also signed Kyle Brunch. And he's going to make a mark in camp as well, I think. So it's going to be a busy little time over there. We had one more signing, and that was Kevin Brunel. 2 years with the Riptide. So another one who didn't stand pat at all over the summer, and that's Rich Lisk. Now, with all these signings, guys, here's my question to the forum. Do you see any team that far and away has elevated themselves?
I mean, it could be easy to say Toronto with the moves they've made, but other than that, I mean, with the trades, but signing wise, I don't know.
I'm willing to say New York.
Yeah.
Maybe not so much on the offensive end, but defensive.
That's funny because when I talk with Rich in the draft, one of the things he's talking about is if we get somebody other than that one guy on the left side, we could be in really good shape. And well, of course you got O'Connor and you got Teat is indelible, but I think they've done a few major signings enough that their offense is actually quite improved. And I agree with you that they're one of the teams that were on my list of teams that have improved immensely over what. Well, you can't even recognize them from the team that went to starts last year. That's how much it's changed. But this is really the third or the fourth time it's gone through this metamorphosis.
Yeah.
Which is
like a prod that can.
I mean,
I was
just going to say now. I mean, now you're going to get. You got Kyle Matisse, you got Mitch Wild, you've got John LaFontaine coming in. Mm-hmm. You're going to get a full season of Chad Cummings potentially. I mean, that's four guys with probably 40-ish years of playing time in the NLL, and all of them.
You can also start calling them the trees because they're all above 6'3". They're humongous.
Yeah. And all of them know what it takes to win a championship because they've all won a championship, and I mean, how long have we been saying the same thing about Vancouver signing Dilks, signing Lintz, signing there's so many Matt Beers, bringing Matt Beers back, all these guys.
That's a great point about Vancouver.
Yeah, all these guys who have plenty of service time. But
that was the whole thing behind the Saskatchewan signing, right? They needed a Dilk still there.
Yeah. So I said, lose one, bring in another. Right?
Bring in another one, yeah.
Yeah.
If I remember right, the game just before COVID, when I was out in Saskatchewan, there was a sign up there saying, "We have the better Dilks." Well, no, now you do. But yeah, I agree. I think that Saskatchewan made an awful lot of moves. They took a lot of the I can't say the practice squad of Toronto because they were all regular squad, but just there was so many that they weren't getting regular playing time. And I think when they start getting that regular playing time, they already know each other very well. So you don't have to worry about them meshing together. This is going to be a team that's very fast, very young. So there may be a few mistakes being made at the beginning, but they're very eager and they will be a very viable force.
I was going to say that was kind of Derek Keenan's goal. I know heading into this offseason was getting younger and more athletic. Obviously, that question mark I still think is going to be in goal. Frank Schneider, I know, was a step up, but again, he has shown inconsistency in the past as well.
Right, Adam J. He got bigger over the summer when he was playing for Oakville and the Prezi. Man, I'm telling you, he's bigger than he was when he played for the Rock in the last couple of years. So you're getting a guy who is faster and stronger. He's already a big guy. So,
and I feel like, just to go back to my other point, I feel like New York and Vancouver stood out just because of like I said, those signings. They brought in guys who have plenty of experience, but still have plenty left in the tank and know how to win a championship.
Mm-hmm.
For me, Saskatchewan is it's a little more of a unique situation, and I think that just comes with the drafting and the building that Keenan and Quinlan have done,
Mm-hmm.
where they can take the risk of banking on their younger core being hungry enough and motivated enough to assume those leadership roles, such that they were okay with letting Corbeil walk, letting Rubish walk, letting Dilks walk. To the point.
Yeah, I still think they still
have
have that leadership, at least on offense. You still have the Churches and the Keenans. But there's that question mark on the defense of, are those guys young guys going to step up as leaders? And I kind of agree. Like, I think this probably isn't going to be a championship team right off the bat. It'll be a contender. Don't get me wrong. But I would take this team over, say, San Diego, where they're probably championship caliber for 1 or 2 years, but they're old. Whereas this, if you can keep this core together for 5-6 years, you're going to have a long longevity.
I think San Diego's window is really 1 more year, and that's it. And then already some guys are going. Just before we continue with this conversation, I just want to remind everybody that this part of the show is brought to you by David R. Cherry.
All right, guys, let's talk about Cherry Law Firm. If you get hurt at work in a motor vehicle accident, personal injury, or affected by criminal law, you got to call David R. Cherry of the Cherry Firm. Call 610-565-0300 or go to cherryinjurylaw.com. Let David R. Cherry fight for your rights. Again, that number is 610-565-0300. That's 610-565-0300 or go to cherryinjurylaw.com. Let David R. Cherry fight for your right.
Yes, and back to our points here. Keeping with the former West, keeping with the that part of the countries. I also think about Calgary. I know that Colorado made a lot of moves and things like that, but I like what Calgary did. I like what they did at the draft. I like the trades that they made. They are a tough team, and they also have, in my opinion, the best goaltender in the league, which doesn't hurt either. Now, they have a fast transition team. That was what kept them afloat last year, really. They have really strong offense now. They have a big body, and Hogarth in front of the net. And let alone the grit, the loose ball grit that's in there, both offensively and defensively. So, the Sandersons and Cordingley have already put their imprint on these teams, and I think that this is the one to take a look at coming out of there.
Could be.
Yeah, it could be interesting. Like, it's tough losing a coach like Molosky, not take it away from the Sandersons. But
Molosky and McMahon, for that matter, pretty. How many years of experience there?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
But in return, you've got Cordingley, you got Phil Sanderson and Josh Sanderson. So how many years there? So, you just have different ideals. And also 2 of them are making their returns, right? Josh always talked about how much he loved Calgary. Well, he's back. Troy had a good time there as a coach of the year and a championship there as well before coming back east to Toronto. And so it really, I think that this is going to be an interesting team. And the fire that's on that bench will help ignite the fire that's on that floor, I think, personally. But,
all I think I could see them slipping is with the other teams catching up to them.
Well, the parity in this league is incredible now. Just with the depth of players. Like I said, there's going to be 35 or 40 players in almost every team's camp this year. And half of them are going to be watching it from either some version of a PBLA in the U.S., Arena West or Arena East in Canada. And really, that's a shame because we could easily find another venue or two to make this work and not water down our product.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So I really think that the league needs to start looking at that as a serious thing. Yes, I understand how they need to still write a couple of ships in there. But to have so much talent not play or wait for an injury to get signed and kind of step up, I think we can actually do better than that, personally.
Yeah.
Well, that's been an interesting show, guys. Johnny was fantastic.
Oh, love his stories.
Yeah.
Yes. Next week we have Curtis Conley on the show.
Yes, we do.
And he's going to talk about all the things through summer ball and getting ready for camp and all the other things that go along with that, as well as he's going to give us more insight into the team that he is going to be joining and all the moves that have we done, like we talked about. That should be an interesting show too. You won't want to miss it. Remember, you can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Thread. You can find us on YouTube. I put up a couple more games this week. They've been getting some pretty good viewings. One was an old Mill game, and one was the Toronto and Rochester, I think from 2000 mid-season. It was a pre-championship game, and that was pretty cool. The Detroit Philadelphia game, I think it was. There's the other one. It was pretty crazy. Both of those were fantastic. In this to this next one to be ready in a couple of weeks is the semifinal from that 2000. We keep hearing about the final and Caleb Tolt's last second goal, but the semifinal between Toronto and Philadelphia, and there was one from the Razors, the Sharks and Bandits from 2002. How long were the Sharks? Not very long.
The who?
Exactly. So you're going to want to see it just to see what this team was all about. And that'll be up by the end of the month. Back up on there. But please go visit our YouTube page. Subscribe to our YouTube page. We have fights up there, interviews up there, full games up there, retro games up there, all kinds of things, and more coming all the time to our YouTube page. So please head on over to YouTube and subscribe on All Lacrosse all the time, as well as come back to our Facebook page 3, 4, 5 times a day, because the news is always changing, and this close to training camps, all kinds of things are happening. So you're going to want to keep up. And for articles and other things, please go to eopsports.com/lacrosse, and you will catch all of our articles, retro and up to date. Everything is in there. So please keep yourselves informed. We are your one-stop shop for everything lacrosse, whether it be field, box, whether it be sixes, whether it be NCAA, whether it be MLL, MSL, WLA, NLL, or any other letter you can come together with it, and World Lacrosse as well. So please keep us in mind no matter what you're doing for your lacrosse needs. Final words, Muffler Mike.
2 more outlooks coming this week. I believe San Diego and our man Eduardo will be checking in with the Vancouver Warriors. So
excellent. Looking forward to those. And I've got the San Diego one. Oh boy.
Fun, yeah.
Yes. Should I just blow the dust off? Well, there has been movement, so there has been some signings. So we'll start with Groob and work our way outward, right?
Yep.
Right.
Any last words, Shawn?
No, I was just looking forward to the moves coming up, and again, like right around the corner, November 25th, the rush will be right in my own backyard. Heard after 2 days of the tickets going on sale, only 1,000 tickets left. So it sounds like they're going to sell out that preseason game, Moose Jaw, which just sounds awesome.
That's amazing. That's great.
Great.
Yeah. The more venues, the better. And there will be 3 weekends, 3 weekends in Oakville with Toronto Rock games. But there's also other teams in there. And if you look carefully, we might catch a Sunday morning game with the Bandits. They're all over the place in there. They're not closed games. So, all the hoopla and stuff like that, they're all playing games in there. Last year, I think I watched the Swarm come on for a practice after the Rock had a game. Nothing like having an 11 p.m. practice. But, the arena's there. Use it.
Yep.
All right, that wraps us up for another week. I want to thank everybody again. I want to thank Johnny Mouradian for taking his time with us. Some great stories. We will have him back on to talk about more stuff and more topics, because there's still a whole lot, believe it or not, that we haven't even scratched the surface with or touched on at all. So it's going to be fun to have him back on a little ways down the road. For everybody, thank you again for week in, week out following us and giving us your patronage. We appreciate it. And if you can throw some stars on Facebook, awesome. even better. That way we can get even more content out for you. For Muffler Mike in Connecticut and Shawn Slaght over Moose Jaw, I am Gary Groob in Toronto. And again, remember, keep your stick in your hands. If you're Canadian, happy Thanksgiving weekend. And we'll see you all again next week. Until then.